Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? Yeah, I know it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday, and this is, well, a special edition of the Boxing Source podcast. I'm your host, JR Bell here. And, of course, I'm still, trying to get my bearings back, adjusting here and there, but, I just got back from London, England, here as of what about I'd say about 5 hours ago or so. Um, had a long flight actually because I had a connecting flight. I had got up mad early over in London in order to catch a flight to Vienna, Austria, and then from Vienna all the way to the DC area. So that was about up to 11 hours plus on planes and stuff like that. But I'm still able to make proper adjustments, and I'm not really tired here in this particular sense. So I'm able to talk about what went down when I was over there at Wembley Stadium on Saturday night. You know what I mean? And what we're going to do is we're going to add in one great guest to join me on this conversation. That wants to talk about what happened in the fight and have a little bit of a reaction to my theory of sorts when it comes to what I saw when I was there at Wembley Stadium. And that's our guy from War a Week Boxing, Joseph Herring. What's going on, Brother Joe? You see here. Joe, you got, yeah, there we go.
Oh, dude, can you hear me now?
Yeah, nah.
Woo! I tell you what, I've been waiting for this all day, brother, on bated breath and dude, I've got my Jiffy Pop hat ready to go. Can't wait to hear this because from what I was looking at, it just looked like someone got his ass smoked like a cheap cigar, my friend. I don't know, but once again, I wasn't there. And whatever you're going to share with me, you already know I'm going to share this with our dear friend, someone that we just did a show with the other night, Mr. Thomas Triber, who was 10 feet away from the knockout. So, hey, man, I can't wait to hear it, brother.
Yeah, no doubt.
Popcorn ready and everything.
Yeah. One way or another, we got to get in contact with Brother Thomas. Because I did have a few photos there when I was there at the weigh-in. So I thought like I said, I thought we were going to be able to link up with him on Friday evening, but he was busy there on that. So
poor guy. He was busy having dinner with Michael Buffer. Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy, man. Oh goodness, he had to go through all of that. Oh man, but yeah. So I'll get into it. Of course, there Saturday night you had that IBF heavyweight championship fight there with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Yes, I was there, live at Wembley Stadium. There are a couple of things that I was surprised about, leading into the main event, but that was mainly because of what was going on within London. So you didn't completely have like a Riyadh season type thing here that you did in, like, of course, in Saudi Arabia and in Los Angeles. But we did have, the thing there where you had Michael Buffer there announcing for the main event. You had where they had someone out there singing the national anthem for Saudi Arabia and the fans.
Let me. Hey, in the immortal words of Ness from the Boxing Voice, let me ask you. Let me ask you something. Why are they doing this? None of the competing fighters are from Saudi.
Right.
Why are they singing the Saudi national anthem?
Oh, because this whole Riyadh season is, from, those representatives from Saudi Arabia, like Turkey Al Sheikh and other people that represent the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
So I'll tell you what, next time I do a show and it's my promotion, I'm going to ask if I can sing One Bread, One Body because I'm a devout Catholic. How's that? Is that okay? Chingao.
Yeah, so they had someone out there singing the Saudi Arabian national anthem, and the crowd at Wembley Stadium was like, "Boo!" There, but that
And
was
you know what? I'll be honest. I would have been one of those.
yeah.
No, I don't disrespect anyone's nationality or culture or creed or anything like that. That's just bad juju now, isn't it, James?
Yeah, but I just didn't understand, them having that. I told one of my good friends that I went over to Wembley Stadium. I was on the way to Wembley Stadium with a couple of friends, and I said, watch, don't be surprised if they're gonna have someone out there singing the Saudi Arabian national anthem because it was a
Oh
Riyadh
boy.
season event, right? So
Yeah. Hey,
there we
let me ask you one more time. Let me
go.
ask you. Um, did you also bitch out Devin Haney when you saw him there at Wembley Stadium, just like
No,
Eddie
I
Hearn?
was no. I was way too far out, and I mean, I'll talk about that here in a little bit too, because I don't understand what he was doing there.
Oh,
Of course,
jeez.
you had the whole thing with their ceremonial Sweet Caroline thing also before that took place, and no, I didn't participate in that. Ain't no way. No,
Oh, why not, man? You don't like Neil Diamond? You're not a fan?
no.
No,
Listen,
you're more of a
um,
Love on the
listen,
Rocks. Ain't no
listen,
surprise.
listen. Matchroom events here, when they play it here, I don't participate here. I'm not
Why, man?
participating.
You're not a fan of Neil Diamond?
I'm not that much fan of Neil Diamond like that. No,
Ah,
so
you
there was
don't bring me flowers
so
anymore.
so you had the whole thing with the introduction there first with Daniel Dubois, and he was coming out there. I think he had his father was out there. What was it? His little brother or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And he was walking out there, and initially, like, the folks in the crowd were like looking at him like he looks a little bit nervous, like a little jittery. And when he
I
went
didn't
down
see that
the
at all, to be honest.
well,
But
and he
let
went
me
down there.
ask you also. Let me ask you,
Well,
are you
hold on that
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, James. My
Hold on,
apologies. Go ahead,
hold on
man.
that one. So when he went to like that secondary stage there, he was like getting himself psyched up or whatever it was, and then when he walked down from that stage, he was like yelling, "Come on!" to his promoter there, Frank Warren, and stepping into the ring. And you had the majority of the crowd there at Wembley Stadium, like pretty much like booing him, to a certain extent, you know. And then you had a whole thing with Anthony Joshua. Joshua Colin was there. It was almost like he was stoic in a sense that he didn't really show that much emotion or anything like that. Walking up to the stage, walking down to the ring, or anything like that. So stoic, pretty much like just there, just to either try initially just take care of business. And you had the introductions and all that type of stuff, the referee instructions, and then round one comes out. And round one, you just seen Daniel Dubois just do what I felt like he should do if he was gonna try to go for the win against Anthony Joshua and blitz him, blitz him. And for me to see that, I mean, that was good on Dubois' part. And for Anthony Joshua, what I seen early was that he, number one was like, fighting off, like depending on fighting off his back foot, almost like a counterpuncher type of style, one. But two, from a defensive standpoint, was having his left hand low, which I just did not understand at all. And then when you saw that early, that's how you got Dubois being able to, buzz Joshua there for a little bit. And then you had Joshua kind of like get composed back there, for a little bit of a second. And then another thing that he did, which was to me, I felt like was like kind of out of character, was throw a lead right hand and, be really, I would say, like wild with it. And that's what led to him completely swinging and missing, being out of position. And then by the time he had got his bearings back on that, that's when you seen Daniel Dubois laying that right hand that hit Anthony Joshua and pretty much like have him really off balance and kind of like get him in that stance of trying to, block and everything like that. And, just Dubois jumped on him and was able to score a knockdown there in the first round. So that kind of like really shifted the tide, so to speak, there at least in the crowd overall in Wembley Stadium. And at that particular point, you just seeing something where like Joshua was out of sorts as far as like his footing, his legs, and all that type of stuff, and that carried on for the rest of the fight. So round two, you pretty much like seeing that same thing where Dubois just, continued to take advantage of, what happened there in the first round, because it wasn't like Anthony Joshua was, completely there, with his feet and everything like that. So it was like, hey, no problem, just try to get back on him and have him, be on, real bad legs. And so that's kind of like how that went down in that. And a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people within Wembley Stadium were shocked about what was happening there within those first couple of rounds. And then in the third round too, you just seen Joshua slipping and sliding. There was actually like one instance there where it looked like he tweaked his ankle while he was on his way down there in the third round, and then you had the same thing happen there in the fourth. Pretty much was like, stumbling and fumbling and whatever it was. You know what I mean? So it was like no one could really, it almost seemed like, everyone was just in shock at seeing what was happening there, and then like in the fourth round, after that early knockdown that happened with Joshua, you kind of seen him get a little bit of his bearings back a little bit, kind of like throw the jab with a little bit of more conviction, a little bit more accuracy and things like that, was snapping the head back of Daniel Dubois. But then also it looked like he was timing Daniel Dubois while Daniel Dubois was coming forward. And when he was doing that, he was like landing the right uppercut on Daniel Dubois. So at the tail end of the fourth round, you seen Daniel Dubois kind of like get hit with a couple of those right uppercut counters there from Anthony Joshua. So you kind of like seeing that where at least live, it seemed like you might have seen a little bit of a shift in what was going on as far as like the momentum in the fight. So now we're going to the fifth round. Fifth round, pretty much around that first half there, you've seen where it was Joshua doing the same thing that he was doing at the second half of the fourth round, where he was throwing a jab, waiting to see what Dubois was going to do, landing in the counters and stuff like that, right? So then what ended up happening was Joshua landed the right hand that stunned Daniel Dubois a little bit and had Dubois take a couple of steps back. And so when that happened, Joshua went ahead and said, all right, I see that I got him hurt. Let me see if I could go in and try to get him down and everything like that. So he goes forward, steps forward, and tries to go up with the offensive onslaught. But while he's doing that, Daniel Dubois is kind of stepping back, but also, trying to throw back as well. So he was trying to stand his ground, but also stepping back. So what ended up happening was Joshua was like throwing punches in and trying to back him up. And then when Dubois was in the corner, Joshua tried to time him with the right hand. But what ended up happening was Dubois was square and just hit a short right hook to just, land clean on Anthony Joshua and put him down there in that particular instance. And then the count was administered. But by the time that count was administered, you had Chris Jericho. He had also thrown in the towel. But referee Marcus McDonald didn't necessarily see the towel, so he ended up going with that full 10 count in order for Daniel Dubois to score the KO win in the fifth round and to retain the IBF World Heavyweight title there. So That was, what had happened in that. As far as like my live assessment of what was going on in the fight as it was going on. Brother Joe, gotta get your thoughts on here, and then I got a couple more guests that are waiting on the queue to join in. And so we're gonna start off here with you, Joe, because we had this conversation on Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields last Wednesday,
Yep.
and you had me and you had Coach Ronnie. We did pick Anthony Joshua to win this fight, but you, Brother Joe, you picked Daniel Dubois to win this fight. Kind of go into that, and then I'm gonna add in a couple things that were part of fight week leading into this fight that actually
Well, look, and I think it was the Thursday after or maybe Friday after the weigh-in was when we reconvened and had that show with Adam Montequia Lopez, former prize fighter, now trainer. But I told you guys that I liked Daniel Dubois' path of progress leading into this fight. Once again, how's that belt line knockout looking at the hands of Daniel Dubois on Alexander Usyk right now? It's looking a lot more legit now, isn't it? Now, both of us also thought that, yeah, that was a clean shot. It was just a blunder and a judgment call by Luis Pabon, right? And according to George Warren, he stated that, look, that's not consistent with what Luis Pabon told us in the back before the fight. Said anything right here is good. Well, he didn't call it that way during the fight. And I said, wow. So arguably, he should have gotten a knockout over Usyk. But you can't say that because that was a judgment called by the ref. So he ends up getting stopped by Alexander Usyk. Great fight. And then the next fight, he stops Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Stops him late in a war of attrition. Great effort. Great fight. And then in the very next fight, by way of a headbutt, he stops Philip Ergovich to earn the interim IBF title. And so I really like this path of progress. In fact, I told you guys, in my opinion, I think he's exercised the demons. This is a guy who's going into this fight, not only with a clear chip on his shoulder, because of being treated in the entire promotion like second fiddle, even though he's the one with the title around his waist. But he is coming into this brimming with confidence after fighting and being more well-seasoned and well-prepared for a fight of this caliber going into this. And so I thought that was going to be the reason why he won this fight. And I thought Anthony Joshua was going into this with a false sense of security after looking amazing against Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou. But what is that really telling us? Absolutely nothing, because he looked like absolute shit against the kid from Grand Rapids or Michigan, right?
Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah, he looked good against, I thought he looked decent against the big Finn, the big Finn from Helsinki. What's his name?
No,
Hellenius.
I didn't think so.
See what I mean? I thought he looked decent but leading up to the stoppage, yeah, he looked very shaky right there as well. So I'm like, guys, is he like walking into a trap? And that's what my whole line of thinking was, is that Dubois was the better seasoned fight and the more confident guy going into this, the more battle hardened, the more battle tested going into this fight. And look, we all saw what happened. But look, enough about me though, brother. I want to hear what I've got my Jiffy Pop foil cap, tinfoil cap ready to go, brother. I want to hear this. Come on, let's hear the conspiracy theory, my friend.
We can't necessarily get into that.
We can't jump the gun. Oh boy. But I will say this. I will say this though. I was a little shocked afterwards that initially Eddie Hearn said, well, you know, I'm going to propose to Anthony Joshua that we're not going to do anything until after December 21st, until we see the winner of Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. And I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't he saying that he and his man, Anthony Joshua, if he's going to continue in this sport, want an immediate rematch? I'm like, what's going on here? That's not good. Because Anthony Joshua came back and said, you know what? We take the good with the bad. It's not over. We still want to get that heavyweight championship. We want to become three-time heavyweight champ. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why isn't he calling for an immediate rematch? Well, now today we hear from Eddie Hearn that, yeah, his number one priority, Anthony Joshua, and like a champion he is, like a real fighter, he wants to get that L back. And so what's going on there, James? Why would his promoter say, oh, no, we would much rather fight Tyson Fury? Because does Anthony Joshua, does Eddie Hearn not have confidence in his man any longer?
Well,
because of him doing the Zab Judah dance, every time he got his chin touched,
hold on.
He did the stinky leg. He did the Watusi.
Hold on. Just slow down on all of that.
Oh,
because that's going to be part of it. I'm telling you. All right. I got to get in one of our other great guests on here that's been part of the Boxing Source podcast here for a little bit. And I got to get his assessment of what he saw there at the fight. The Boxing Academic is in the building. What's going on?
Boxing Academic, how you doing, brother?
Doing well. How you fellas doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, man?
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
Woo! Living the dream. Yes, sir.
God bless you, my friend.
Try to get Brother Terrell on here, but I don't know if he'll be able to jump back on here in a bit. So, Boxing Academic, what did you see there in this fight here before I give in my take of what may have happened?
I heard it's a conspiracy theory. I heard that you got one of those. That's what word on the street is. But what I saw is, so I was thinking about this fight very inconspicuously. I didn't do a lot of pre-assessment. I just kind of knew what I thought should happen, which is, you expect Anthony Joshua to win. I also knew that Joshua could face some resistance early, but you just sort of expected him to be able to weather any storm that Daniel Dubois kind of threw at him and win the fight, just because that's what was the expectation. But what I actually saw, if I paid attention to the fight and I looked at the fight, what I saw was a lot of momentum leading into the fight. And when I say momentum, I mean negative momentum. Everything that has led up to the fight, even as Joseph said, kind of foretold what would happen. You saw Daniel Dubois' momentum. Daniel Dubois was at the lowest point that he could be at. Daniel Dubois had everybody to essentially not believe in him, and he had to build himself up in fights that he wasn't necessarily guaranteed to win. And in those fights that he wasn't guaranteed to win, he built his confidence up to be able to weather those storms. And he became a confident man. And so he went into the ring saying, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out putting my all into it. Anthony Joshua was still on the tour bus, and he didn't even get off the bus in his hometown. And so I'm saying this to sum it up. Anthony Joshua flopped. He blew it. He what word did I use?
He phoned it in.
He what?
He phoned it in.
He phoned it in, but yes, he flopped. I don't know if he was mentally just even checked in the fight. If I'm being quite honest, it reminded me of the Deontay Wilder fight.
Which Deontay Wilder fight?
The last couple, where you question if he was even in the fight mentally.
Well, I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Vladimir Klitschko thinking that he was just going to coast by a guy in Corey Sanders back in Dusseldorf, Germany, a guy that the WBO didn't even want to sanction as a legitimate defense because he wasn't ranked highly enough. A guy who was at 2 weeks' notice taking a fight, the WBO, and he didn't take him seriously. And he just walked in, just waltzed in, thought, oh, this is Corey Sanders. He looks like a pro golfer. He doesn't look like a pro fighter. And he couldn't deal with the hand speed. He couldn't deal with the natural athleticism. He couldn't deal with the fluidity and the heavy hands and the counterpunching ability of a very intelligent, seasoned Corey Sanders. And he paid the price almost identically to what we saw on Saturday with Anthony Joshua. And that's the way it looked.
Well,
in my opinion, you could see it even in the ring walk. He looked remnant, and I was getting flashbacks. Now, keep in mind, the entire time I'm watching this, right? At 7:30 in the morning, I get a call from a local promoter and say, hey, Joseph, my guy, he's not going to be able to make it. Can you come in and call an amateur championship? Can you call an amateur contest? And I'm like, damn it, I'm going to miss the fight. So I ordered it, and I saw it on my computer. I had it right there. And dude, everyone from USA Boxing is crowded around my computer while these two poor kids are inside giving it their all. And we're like,
because you were hitting me up as far as like, leading into the main event, like what was going on. So, that was the thing on that.
I was watching this, and I'm like, dude, is it just me, or does he look like Vladimir Klitschko before he got his ass whooped by Corey Sanders? It almost looked like he was just strolling to ringside. Where Daniel Dubois looked like he was pumped, like he was carrying a chip on his shoulder after being slighted all week, being treated like second fiddle, and saying, you know what? I'm going to show everyone that I am not second fiddle. I'm the guy with the IBF, damn it. I don't care. Look, am I not from this area also? Why is everyone treating me like a redheaded stepchild? No offense, Canelo fans. But why is everyone treating me this way? And it looked like it was real motivation for him. And you could see it even in the buildup. Was it my imagination, or was he already living rent-free between the ears of Anthony Joshua?
I don't think it was that. Now, let's go into, fight weekend and into the fight and then the initial result, right? Like I was talking with one friend in reference to result and everything like that, and what he told me was, and this goes to like what you're saying as far as like the demeanor of Joshua, right?
Yep.
He said that he went in there like it was the Anthony Joshua show.
Yep.
Which meant that, okay, you have grand arrivals. He shows up in a luxury car and all this, and he steps out and he signs autographs and he takes selfies and all that type of stuff, taking his time, 8 to 10 minutes and all that type of stuff, walking down, the grand, walk before, taking the pictures and speaking with the media and all that type of stuff, right? And then going into the next couple of days, he's just, yeah, I'm here. I showed up. Yeah, it's me. You know what I mean? And then like even what it was like before the fight when they were showing up, right? Daniel Dubois kind of like showed up. I would say, what was that around? Because I got there by the time the third bout joint, not the third bout, but when they had the Bouassi versus Willie Hutchinson fight.
Oh yeah,
that's when I got into Wembley Stadium, and there pretty much like about midway through that particular fight, that's when Daniel Dubois showed up, right? And then the end of that fight happens, and initially at the time when I'm there live, I'm thinking that the fight and the main event is going to happen around 11 p.m. local time. Okay. So with me thinking that, I'm like, okay, you still got like, a good amount of time or whatever it is, but probably both fighters knew when they had to basically be there. Right. So it was actually 10 p.m. local time that they were going to start the main event, but Joshua kind of like shows up pretty much what in between the end of that Hutchinson fight with Buatsi and the one with Hamza Shiraz, right? And when you see
Wow.
him get out of the car, he's almost there like, yeah, I'm just here. I just showed up. Yeah, let's do this thing, and everything like that. So it's almost like everybody's here waiting for me. Okay, I'm here. It's me, right? So that kind of like goes into the whole Anthony Joshua show. Like, I'm the one, I'm the superstar. Y'all gotta wait on me. Y'all gotta wait until I get this done, get that done. Y'all gotta wait until I show up in the ring walk and everything like that. So it's almost like he's just there for the show, as my friend said.
Yep.
Right. So I could understand that little part. But now,
oh, here it comes. Woo!
here's where the whole conspiracy thing is. But here, but I'm kind of a little bit
okay,
slighted.
Matthew. Okay, Matthew. I mean, James. My apologies, as you were.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit slighted because I you know what? I bought a soundboard, but I can't really use it here at this particular point. So maybe next time. But from after going through this particular fight and what I saw there, this reminded me directly of what happened in June 1st, 2019.
I knew you were going to say
Madison Square Garden.
I knew you were going to say that.
At
The
Madison
space
Square
case.
Garden. Same.
The space case.
It was almost the same exact thing. Joshua showing up, first time in the U.S., fighting in the U.S., having all those endorsements and everything like that, being the kind of like that star that he was, and showing up when he's showing up at Madison Square Garden,
going to an amusement park the week of the fight,
going to an amusement park the week of the fight, being at Pier 40, I think it was Pier 40, hours before the fight.
Let me ask you, did he get knocked out by Joey DeVaco, man, leading up to this fight also in sparring?
That was the rumor. Speaking of Joey DeVaco, I'm waiting for
I thought he was jobbed. I thought he was jobbed, man. Well, anyway, keep going, sir.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a response from him. Now, gets in there, shows up mad late. Yeah, I'm here. It's the Anthony Joshua show. This, that, do. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna do this. And then third round, he gets to knock down on Andy Ruiz, and it's like, okay, I got this knockdown now. It's about time to close the show. And then when he tried to close the show, that's when Andy Ruiz did his thing there. But real quick before I continue on that, shout out to Malcolm L on there, and you're pretty much on point with what you said there, Malcolm L. Pretty much right on point with that. Now, with Andy Ruiz Jr. there at Madison Square Garden, gets that knockdown, uppercut, puts down Andy Ruiz, then tries to go after him and then gets countered, and it really, hits him and busts him, and then he gets knocked down, right?
Yeah, and he never recovered.
But the thing about it was, to me, it almost seemed like he didn't mind losing that fight.
Yep.
Now here's why. In that bout, after what I would say, maybe the third knockdown, where he was down on one knee, right?
Yep.
He's there on one knee. He looks like he's completely coherent. Yep. And he looks like he's looking at someone and he's like sticking his tongue out or whatever it is, like, this happened, whatever. And he gets up. And from that point forward, I just felt like he wasn't necessarily like hurt. So when that last knockdown happened and the referee ended up stopping the fight, he was like, man, oh well, props to Andy Ruiz, all that type of stuff. He's new champ and everything like that, which eventually sets up the rematch in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Fast forward to now. Okay. Like I said, Anthony Joshua show, autographs, selfies, this and that, da da da, returns to UK, all that type of stuff, right? First thing happens here with Daniel Dubois, he gets knocked down, he goes down on one knee. Has a couple of other knockdowns where he's like down on one knee and whatever it is and gets up. In the third and fourth round, where he, kind of like gets back in the groove of things and all that type of stuff, what does he do again? Like, does where he's like, oh, this is that, and I stick my tongue out, that all that type of stuff. Then he goes after him once again, and that's where you see what happened.
The coup de grace. Yep.
Right? And he gets up. He basically gets up from that, but it's like, it was still the 10 count or whatever it is. And, after the fight, he's like, okay, props to Daniel Dubois and everything like that. But it seems like, you know what? Looks like he's trying to plant the seeds for a rematch. That's what it looks like. And for me, I kind of see those signs, but I'm also like this. Daniel Dubois, don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the trap. Because it looks like, in a sense, Anthony Joshua to the heavyweight division is like Canelo Alvarez is to the middleweight, super middleweight division, light heavyweight division.
In the UK, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's the one that generates the money. He's the one that generates the fame. He's the one that generates the interest. So with him kind of like saying, you know what? Either I could try to, be on the scene and give these fighters this opportunity, so to speak, like a Usyk Fury 2 winner or whatever it is. Or I could say, let's give the young man this props, or let's give the young man this win, and I'll just sit back and wait for what happens here with Fury and Usyk, and have a rematch here with Daniel Dubois. And part of this too, right? And I'll tie it into it. What did Tyson Fury say after Daniel Dubois scored that knockout win over Anthony Joshua?
He just cost me $150 million.
$150 million.
Yep.
And so it's like, well, it's almost like all of these, fighters and all these companies or whatever type of stuff kind of like rely on Anthony Joshua to be that standard bearer, at least for the UK, of being at the top, because he's the one that kind of like generated all that interest to build where, Wembley Stadium is what it is right now. Like, even when I was on the way to Wembley Stadium, y'all seen the photos there where I was out there over on the walkway. It was all Anthony Joshua Under Armour advertisements right there. So it's like, well, if he's getting all this attention and he's getting all this money, this is a guy that I want to fight, But if he kind of like has it to the point where, you know what, if I'm not in contention for a world title, if I'm not a, world heavyweight champion, are they going to still, have that type of interest in those fighters? Who knows? So that's why I say maybe they're going to wait it out and go for the rematch, or maybe, but I feel like it's unlikely. It's too quick of a turnaround, the whole thing for the December fight card for Riyadh season. We'll see. But as of right now, I mean, like I said, props to Dubois. He fought like the best fight that he could fight at that point. But it's almost like, as Michael says here, making some awful basic mistakes, which we haven't really seen before. It's like he didn't think Dubois could hurt him.
Well, we have seen it before.
No. We have.
I got to come in.
We have seen that before. Go ahead, sir.
Hold on, back to Academic. Go ahead, Academic.
AJ choked. When the moment, so you were painting a story, but I dropped off a little bit. So maybe you said it, but maybe you didn't. The moment gets built up, and AJ, for whatever reason, he feels some type of pressure, and in this moment he choked. Is no different in the other few moments that he choked. I ain't saying that the man isn't a champion, because I mean he did what he's supposed to do at the end, where he kind of had his last stand, but essentially the moment got to AJ and he choked. We ain't talking about his will. We talking about his ability to raise his level when everybody is leaning on him. When all that pressure is on him, his pipes bust. They didn't withstand the pressure. He choked.
Look. And I think Boxing Academic is absolutely right, because one thing that every great trainer, including Emmanuel Stewart, insisted to me was, look, I know you need to get your physical condition in optimal fighting shape, but boxing is 90% mental. And if you're not mentally there, you shouldn't be competing in the ring. This is a guy who put himself in solitary confinement. Just face it, this guy, and I feel bad for him, Anthony Joshua, because this is a guy who's always been somewhat mentally fragile since getting knocked out by Andy Ruiz. And I'll say this, I said this on my show last night, I feel bad for him because this is a guy, unlike Deontay Wilder, didn't have that learning curve. He didn't, after the Olympics, Eddie Hearn had him on the fast track to become a champion and become a big star. He was already a huge attraction. And so he didn't get to have that 4, 6, and 8 round seasoning. Like, how many fights did Wilder have before he fought for a major world title against Berman Stiverne? 35?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yep. So Anthony Joshua didn't have that luxury. And this is a guy who got somewhat of a late start, not as late as Deontay, but he was still learning on the job. But what happens, though, when your promoter's an asshole and puts him in that title contention against Charles Martin, gets him a world title in a relatively short amount of time, and when you're already fighting on pay-per-view, where's your learning curve then? He never got to blossom and make the most of that process. He was thrust into the same situation as like Ryan Garcia is suffering from now because of terrible matchmaking and trying to hurry him up to get to that level. So now Ryan Garcia is a flawed fighter. You have to be very careful in matchmaking. But look, if you want to feature him on pay-per-view and you want him to make those big dollars, you have no choice. You're going to be expected to fight the best. And Anthony Joshua never had that proper seasoning and cultivation process, nurturing process, like someone like Deontay Wilder or Vladimir Klitschko or Tyson Fury or anybody. And so he's been a flawed fighter, James. Now,
what do you mean by solitary confinement when you say solitary confinement?
Do you remember he put himself in that shed in total darkness for like 3 days, thinking that it was going to help him mentally?
You know, like who was it?
It's like Shawshank Redemption, man.
Was it Brett Favre or some other quarterback that did that?
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. There you go. It's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that guy's a whack job, man. And so once again, I'm like, what is he doing? Is he taking ayahuasca too? It's like, dude, this is a guy who's been, now I feel bad for him because he was hurried along way too quickly. And once again, that's Eddie Hearn's inexperience. He's not his dad. He's not Barry Hearn. He's not Frank Warren. Okay. He's an asshole is what he is. He overpays fighters and he does not consider their maturation process. And I think you can pin this one on Eddie Hearn. And in my opinion, in my opinion, Anthony Joshua, unlike the Andy Ruiz fights, never looked good. Look, you look at that Andy Ruiz fight, he looked great for 3 rounds. But in this fight, he looked sluggish. He looked lackadaisical. He didn't look in fight shape. And honestly, you saw every single flaw that he's never been able to repair. And it's a damn shame because this is a guy who's been surviving on his power and athleticism alone. And with as much as he's been able to accomplish with all of the flaws that he's had, I think it's amazing. And it's a testament to his natural ability and his heart and his mental and physical toughness. But guys, too little, too late. He's a shot fighter. Dude, I'm sorry. Just from the first knockdown on, He looked like he was doing the Zab Judah dance. He looked like he was doing the Watusi, the stanky leg. I don't think he's going to be able to come back from this, not at age 34.
Question, Joseph.
We'll see.
Question, Joseph.
Yes, sir.
So did I just hear you say that Eddie Hearn did not protect Anthony Joshua?
No. I didn't. No. He did not cultivate him the proper way. Now, look.
Okay.
This is what happens.
Ain't
Like,
that a form of protection, though?
No, not at all. That's the very opposite. Okay. Now, once again, when a fighter turns pro after a limited amateur background like Anthony Joshua, winning the gold basically on athleticism and power alone. Now, look at Edgar Berlanga. What happened when they moved him along because he had all those first-round knockouts? They said, oh, you know what? Let's just cash in and increase his level of attraction that way. But did he learn anything? No, and we all saw all of his flaws on display on the big stage with Canelo Alvarez. And this is what you've been seeing with Anthony Joshua.
Now, to this point, as far as like the way that he's built up, and it's a fast track, right?
Yep.
Usually when you're a pro, you start off with like, 4-round bouts, then gradually go up to 6-round bouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
He started off his professional career in 6-round bouts.
Yep.
Right? And he within 1 year, he was already in bouts that were scheduled for 10 rounds within 1 year. Or
that's way too quick when you're learning on the job.
But wasn't he getting knockouts though?
Yeah, so was Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, but with Edgar Berlanga, all of those were like within, so to speak, 4-round bouts, 6-round bouts, 8-round bouts. When you go to like 8 to 10, you're going up against fighters at a level that you should be fighting at, like when you're 20-0, 20.
That's right. He should have already had that seasoning, but he didn't.
But you're going up against someone that has already 45 professional fights in your 10th fight, or 60 plus professional fights in your 11th fight. Whether it's
winning these fights on natural ability and power alone.
So that's the thing about it. Once you do that, you're not able to sharpen up your skills and things like that. And Vice Academic, we've had these conversations in the past, and one person that has pretty much pointed out this very same thing when it comes to Anthony Joshua, and that's right, that's Brother Matt. But now, after a good little while here, been chomping at the bit, so to speak, the chef is in the building. Brother Terrell, wait a minute. Is that shrimp and what is that? Spinach? I don't even know. Wait.
That looks delicious, though. Whatever it is. How you doing, Chef?
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on, panel? Mike?
God bless you, brother.
What's going on, Terrell? What is that? You got to answer the question, man.
Oh, just a quick jumbo shrimp, rainbow shark rings, tossing garlic and butter, a quick saute, and mashed potatoes sauce. Simple.
Terrell, you sound like one of these youngins talking about some. This is just some light, just some light work. This is some light.
It's light work.
The easy thing about cooking, just find simple stuff, but just find a way to elevate it. That's just the key to cooking. So yeah. But anyway, JR. So man, I just want to big you up, man, for taking the show on the road, on the pond, across the pond, you big dosser.
And he couldn't even help Anthony Joshua win.
Hey, and nobody could have saved him from that ass whooping.
Man, yeah, that was just something there, man. Brother Joseph said, Daniel Dubois came in there with all the confidence in the world going up against Anthony Joshua, man. I guess maybe that key was that. But y'all go to, my question here on this topic. Do you feel that Daniel Dubois won or that Anthony Joshua lost?
And real quick, I won't get into the A's and B's of the fight, what happens. Things you guys already took care of that. But real quick, just to follow up on what you guys were just talking about right there about Joshua, it's a classic case of being moved along too fast, right? And even on top of that, look at Mr. Hearn. this man has taken some big L's here in the past 6 months. Here with Joshua, and also what was the Matchroom
The
5
5v5?
versus
Yeah.
He's 0-7 for the year against Frank Warren. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, but Joshua is just a classic case of getting moving along too quick, and just like you said, Joe, someone that's been getting by on the athleticism, a little bit of talent and things like that, and just size and brawn for this generation. Because you can't teach size, as we know that. But when you had the success from the Olympics like he did, and being that the heavyweight division wasn't enamored with killers, they just saw the path. Hey, let's move this guy along real fast and see what we can get. And it worked to a degree, but at this point now, at 34, like I said, he's probably a shot fighter. Especially when we saw that first round knockdown from Dubois. I was like, wow. I mean, he got hit, but was it flushed like that? Or does Dubois always want to have world power? That we don't know. But when you have a shot fighter in front of you, that's probably the case. And this is a case where you look at the accumulation of minimum, and keep in mind, minimum punishment on top with Joshua. So physical punishment and minimum punishment. So look at his last couple of fights with Usyk. Got mentally punished from that, and not at this point, can he come back and be effective? Highly, I doubt it very much. Even the talk of possible future fights with Fury, Wilder. I mean, they would make money, but do we want to see that? I mean, we would consume that as boxing insiders, things like that. But for the most, he's done.
He's Humpty Dumpty, brother.
Now here was the thing that I had said, like, immediately after this fight. I had the lives on Instagram or whatever it was when it came to the era of the heavyweight division, that you had what is it, from 2015 up to this particular point, where you had the Anthony Joshua, you had Tyson Fury, you had Deontay Wilder, and now here we are at 2024, and all three of those fighters all lost this year. So would we say that particular era with those fighters is now done? Oh, hold on. What you cutting up? I heard something. I heard something.
Yeah, just make some not quick, but we're gonna make chicken tacos with me and my daughter. But
that's man.
Yeah, but is this air done? Yeah, it's definitely done. But it's at the same time, well, the top level players are Wilder. Wow, who the top level people in the last 5 to 10 years? Wilder, Ortiz.
Ortiz, Joshua, Fury.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they're definitely not. I mean, look at what happened to Wilder his last fight with Big Bang Zhang. Mm-hmm. I wish I could demonstrate how he did that 3/4 turn.
Right.
He got knocked upside the head, but yeah.
Well, look though. Before you go any further with that, I did speak with Tim Lane, and that's no. I'm sorry. My apologies. G Funky, who's very dear friends with Tim Lane, spoke with him immediately following the Zhilei Zhang fight, the Big Bang with Deontay Wilder. And according to the Big Bang, he said, yeah, you know what? He can still crack. He still has heavy hands, right? He still has heavy hands. That guy can still punch. It took everything I had to maintain that level of poker face, because he hurt me in that third and fourth round. So guys,
he didn't throw it though.
No, he threw the right hand and landed several. But Big Bang Zhilei Zhang with that 10-gallon head of his, just took it and kept coming forward. But he said, Deontay, that's the hardest he's ever been punched. So, hey guys, so what I'm asking you is it out of the realm of possibility that is it the right course of action for Anthony Joshua to take on Deontay Wilder? Should he actually come back with something like that rather than jumping into an immediate rematch? Because that's still a huge money fight. You can put that on the undercard of Fury versus Usyk in Saudi Arabia and wait for spring to come around and then make the rematch, build it up, and in the interim, we could see because both guys are fighting for Frank Warren, we could see Daniel Dubois in somewhat of a unification with Joseph Parker.
Yeah, that has been proposed there real quick. You know, as far as like that date, that kind of like falls into, you know, like say it's a day of reckoning too, because it would fall around that same time frame as what it was last year. So you could have a number of those, or like the 4 proposed fights for that particular date with the, you know, the Usyk Fury rematch. You know, you could have there with what you said, like Daniel Dubois there, you know, against what, Joseph Parker. You could have Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, and you could have Big Bag Zhang there versus Martin McCauley. So we could have something like that for December 21st or whatever it would be.
My point is, guys, are we seeing a renaissance of the good old 90s in terms of the heavyweight division? Basically a mix and match. Think about how many great matchups we can see still with these heavyweights.
I mean,
and you know what? And once again, you've got Martin McCauley.
There's
once
still
again,
a lot
you've got
more fights out there. There are a
that's
lot
what
more
I'm saying.
that haven't even been mentioned.
Once again, you've got Martin McCauley, you've got Zhilei Zhang, you've got Andy Ruiz, you've got Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Guys, I love this. This is just like the 90s all over again. I love it.
You didn't even mention Agit Kabayel.
Oh, Ajit Kabayel from Germany.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, brother. Woo!
So it's a number of
and I didn't mention Bahadir Jalilov either.
Nope. Yeah.
That guy's going to be a problem.
So yeah, that could be something there. Like you said, it could be something close to what we had in the 90s with all of those, you know, very, very good. Well, those were like really, really good fighters there in the 90s. But you know, here in the 2020s, where you could like mix and match a whole lot of fighters here to, you know, match themselves up there. So you know, we got to see what happens. The most
important thing, James, before I step off, because I do have to start getting ready for my show with your favorite guy in boxing, Rick Glazier. But I'm going to leave you guys with this. Is Turki Al-Sheikh is the best thing that's happening from this effort, from Turki Al-Sheikh. And yes, I still refuse to call him His Excellency. Is the best thing that's going to come from this is not putting fans getting used to now, not putting too much emphasis on a single loss and a single win.
Hopefully it does come out to that, you know, especially there within the heavyweight division that he's kind of like focused on that heavyweight division ever since you know, his inception there with you know, even though it was semi-exhibition, but it was actual fight there with Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. He's kind of like invested a lot of money and resources there into the heavyweight division, and kind of like giving it a jolt there, so to speak, as far as like getting some good matchups put together, you know. So maybe, you know, he could be credited to something like that. We just got to see like what he's doing here outside of that, as far as like the other divisions are concerned, to see if he could have that same effect. And also, I like to see how this kind of like turned out in the box office, given that it was, you know, a pay-per-view that was $19.99.
Well, you already know, James. You already know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. The only thing that it did was lower the Sheik's profit margin. That's it.
Yeah,
but it didn't. You're going to see less than 25,000 purchases in the American market.
Well, in American market,
and all I can say is I'm just proud I was one of them, even when I was calling and doing the ring announcing for an amateur contest. There it is. But I will say this, James, God bless you, brother. Boxing academic, God bless you. And chef, man, that looks flipping delicious, man. But I will say this, last parting shots. Let's just hope Anthony Joshua isn't who I think he is, and that's done like a $2 steak. Let's hope he's not done, because what he means to the heavyweight division in terms of money, you cannot discount his contribution and his rebuilding of this era of the heavyweight division. That can't be understated. So let's just pray for the best. Let's hope for the best. And hopefully Anthony Joshua gets his act together and puts forth, well, a more convincing effort next time. But God bless all of you guys, and thank you for always being the gracious host, James.
All right, gotcha, Joe. All right, we'll see you later, man. So yeah, that's one thing we gotta think about when it comes to Anthony Joshua. As I mentioned before, he's like Canelo Alvarez is to the middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight divisions, being the money man there. But we just gotta see like how he responds to this particular loss. Him having an immediate video like he did, it reminds me of Sergey Kovalev when he lost to Elador Alvarez over at the Hard Rock Casino over in Atlantic City a couple years ago. So I don't know, man.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one statement. At least Anthony Joshua taking it in stride, and he ain't on like suicide watch because that's not cool. Nobody's feeling down and depressed. So it appears. I don't know how you feeling now, but it appears that he's taking it in stride, and that's the best thing that he ain't in poor spirits.
Right.
My question is, what were you saying, Terrell?
About what?
You was finishing a statement, and I don't think you finished it. So what were you saying? Unless you forgot.
What the last time we talked about was the fact that how Joshua is mentally beat at this point. You guys remember when I think that last fight when he lost to Usyk, that post fight tirade he did in the ring, and you don't see that. You don't see that, especially from a fighter of that stature and on that stage, right? And fast forwards now to how he lost now, there's no question about how he lost and who he lost to. Just think about the effect that loss and how he lost now has on the effect of his psyche, right? And that's what I say now he's mentally beat down, crushed, and kind of say and I expected some kind of tirade or something like that. That didn't happen. He did take it, I would say, in stride. Did take it relatively well. Even a few days after the fight, just reading some articles. He's been he's upbeat, which is good to hear. But kind of what Joe said, even though we see what should be a shot fighter, like he said, he does represent a big number to the heavyweight weight class and just boxing itself, and kind of look at this a rough comparison. So we saw what was a week or so ago, Danny Garcia lost and emphatically knockout, right? And at that point he's done, right? But with him, he because of his absence from boxing, I think it's only first fight in over a year or something like that.
Couple years.
Yeah, his impact is lessened. But so he's done. He lost weight. We're good because we got other people that have moved on and established himself within 147 and 154 and even 160 to a degree. But if Joshua just would call it quits, like I said, if he was to fight Fury, I still want to see it. If he was to fight Wilder, I still want to see it. Of course, at this point now, those would be a less diminished fight as far as quality from each opponent, things like that. But yet, we still want to see that, and people will pay to see that on that, no doubt at all. So, there you go.
The only thing I would say toward what you said, yes, he showed some grace in losing, but it looked like he was right at that edge. Like he was like one toe from almost like possibly losing it. Like it like he was holding it in, and eventually he went the right direction he should have went. But he was at a fork in the road where he wanted to like go either direction, but then he just kept it in the road. He didn't go off the road.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like I said, it reminded me of the whole thing with Sergey Kovalev after he got stopped by Elador Alvarez, man. He's like, "Hello, boxing fans. Me, Sergey Kovalev. Still was a tough loss and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, eventually, at that point, Sergey Kovalev did get a win in the rematch against Elador Alvarez, but that was like, much later though. Here with Anthony Joshua, it just seems like, like you mentioned, there box academic, like Terrell mentioned, and like Joe mentioned, he's like meant a lot to the heavyweight division, and it's been a boost to the heavyweight division as far as like popularity is concerned. So if he kind of like all of a sudden is taken out of the picture, what would that mean for the heavyweight division as a whole, as far as like the level of popularity and the level of interest that it has. Will I mean you can have still those great fights there in the heavyweight division, but will it have the appeal that it could have had there with Anthony Joshua being involved? I mean that's just like a wait and see approach. But we'll have to wait and see because I mean, like I said, it's only been a few days since that fight took place there at Wembley Stadium and everything like that. So we got to see like how he responds to that. Now on the flip side, you got Daniel Dubois. Now this is also a very important time for Daniel Dubois because he is able to get this win, a big win, a statement win on a big stage there at Wembley Stadium. So I'm there at Wembley Stadium, and as I mentioned before, it kind of looked like the Anthony Joshua show. And afterwards, it wasn't like it almost seemed, like how it could have been like a changing of the guard, so to speak. Because we mentioned here with Anthony Joshua, like he's there at 34 years old, while at the flip side, Daniel Dubois is there at like 27. So he's younger guy, younger heavyweight that could still have good years left in him. So it could have been like a changing of the guard type of thing, or something where the people in the UK or something like that could get behind Daniel Dubois. But immediately after the fight, I didn't necessarily see that from the folks in the crowd. I mean, one, you've seen a good amount of those fans pretty much leave Wembley Stadium before the result was announced there by Michael Buffer. And then two, those that were hanging around that I was able to speak with kind of like said that they were kind of like disappointed at what happened and things like that, or at least the majority of them were saying that. There were a few that kind of like said that, hey, maybe we should have seen this coming, or this is Anthony Joshua and he's kind of like been brought up a certain way. It's like a fast track as how he said it. But it still like had a good majority of the fans that were pretty much there for Anthony Joshua. So with Daniel Dubois, is that going to happen with Daniel Dubois in this sense? That's just a wait and see approach with that. You know what I mean?
Well, that just speaks to the stature of Joshua in boxing, and especially over there in the UK. His stature is huge. I mean, this guy has repeatedly been their key figure in boxing. So when you think about that, of course, we know Fury's been there, of course.
Right.
But other than Fury, even I would say even before Fury, who was it? It was Joshua. Joshua was one that was the representative of British boxing in that regard.
Right.
And he definitely carried that well, and he carried well with popular, and also economically, because he's the one that filled stadium after stadium and gave those. And we know British boxing fans are fanatic. They are definitely fanatic, and they do travel to support their fighter as long as he's putting on a good show. But that just once again that goes to underline his stature. And in most last time you actually saw a champion walk out first.
Right. It's very that happens very few times. Probably, I don't know. Actually, it might have happened with Brahman Severin versus Deontay Wilder. I'll have to check that.
Yeah.
But it's very weird that happens there in that case. But it just goes to the level of popularity that Anthony Joshua has. So we have to see here what comes up next. There, like I said, for both fighters, at least for the time being, it looks like they may be trying to develop Daniel Dubois to be the next guy to be the superstar there in the UK. It just is all on Frank Warren there, as he is a Queensberry Promotions fighter, and how that particularly goes there on that point.
It's just a simple thought. Everyone has their favorite sports team, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with boxing. You got Joshua is their guy. Their guy just got thrashed, right? And now, like I said, it's up to Frank Warren to promote Dubois and see and be very interesting to see if they actually embrace him the same way they do with Fury, Joshua, and other people like that. So interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, man. Definitely, we'll see how that goes. But that was the main event out there, and like I said, leading into it, they had their whole thing as far as like, the whole performance part before the fight, and the whole thing with their their tradition with the Sweet Caroline stuff, and I wasn't doing that, man. I wasn't doing that. That was just not going to happen. But that kind of like was, like I said, part of the whole experience there, that we had at Wembley Stadium. Those introductions that happen with the fireworks and all that type of stuff too. That kind of like is the standard there at Wembley Stadium too. Like you don't really see that here in the States there, because a majority of these big fights are like in indoor stadiums, so you can't necessarily really do all that. But still, like having that type of experience is, just something that was, like what I kind of like said, what, I'm gonna just go out there and go out to one of those fight cards and enjoy that. As far as like the other fights that were on the card, not really a lot of people were very interested in the undercards, because it looked like they were like serious mismatches, so to speak, with the exception of maybe the Buatsi versus Hutchinson fight. So that one, and even in that one, Buatsi was really out working Willie Hutchinson, and for some reason, even one judge called the fight for Willie Hutchinson on the scorecard. So that was crazy. Josh Warrington, I expected him to lose to Anthony Kasasi, but I expected him to be stopped in that one. Josh Kelly got a close win over Ismail Davis, who had just been added into the card. And that first one, we had what was it? Mark Chamberlain losing to Josh Padley, and Mark Chamberlain was kind of rumored to be a potential opponent for Shakur Stevenson in 2025. And look, he just ends up losing there. And that Hamza Shiraz fight that was the co-feature bout, like that shouldn't have even been a co-feature bout to begin with. That was crazy.
Who's that guy, Denny? I mean, who is he? Because he didn't belong in the ring at all. Not, like I said, he didn't belong in the damn stadium.
I'm like, listen, like I said, I got there, for that, for that fight with Buatsi and Hutchinson, and then they had this be the co-feature bout. In the first round, Tyler Denny goes down to pretty much a punch that grazed the back of his head. I'm like, come on, man. He should have even been there, man. He shouldn't have been there at all. But they're saying like with Hamza Shiraz, though, as far as like being there in the middleweight division, that he could be the next guy there at middleweight. And there were like some reports that were floating around that he could have fought Janabek Alim Hanali, right? But it looked like maybe Janabek didn't necessarily want the fight at the time. I don't know if they're going to revisit it, given that Alim Hanali had initial, issues with weight with this originally scheduled fight with Andrei Mikhailovich. They'll see what happens here on this next one when they try to reschedule it. But yeah, Shiraz is like, looking like he's the guy there at middleweight. Like you saw what happened there with Arizona De Lara a couple of weeks ago, but Hamza Shiraz in his past couple of fights, his win over Amo Williams, and then this, pretty much this walkover there against Tyler Denny. Yeah, he's looking like he may be the top rated middleweight as of right.
He definitely has the size, strength for the weight class. I'm trying to think what he does have. I mean, the only thing he does have at this point is signature wins over people at the top level of the division. That's what that fight against this past Saturday. That don't count. That was that wasn't inspiring. But I mean, but Janabek, I'm sure I heard that the dispute was over money, and even up at that point, how much longer can he stay at 160? Even with two belts, and then the fight, his last fight, having to get out of there because of dehydration and stuff like that. So, but the Arab definitely looks good. Just needs someone to step into the ring. For me, even though we haven't seen a lot of them, my favorite 160 is still Adamiz. I know you guys will never hire him, but I just think he's rough and tough for the division. That's still my main guy at 160, Adamiz.
Yeah, we got to see what happens here with Carlos Adames. Him being the WBC champion, maybe they could potentially have a unification with him and Arizona De Lara. I know that they had those separate bouts that are scheduled. With Adames fighting on June 15th, and then Lara fighting there a couple of weeks ago against Danny Garcia. So, maybe later on, maybe early 2025, they have a unification match. And then on the other side, you could have, Hamza Shiraz and, maybe Janabek fight each other. And then, they could kind of like clash for undisputed. I don't know. But at least, like there's some clear fighters there at the top 4 or 5 at the 160-pound division in that particular sense. So, you definitely have that to kind of like look forward to there. Was going to like see about even having a midweek report tomorrow, kind of like preview what's going on over in New York City. But here also wanted to touch on a little bit on what happened there with Jaime Munguia. He had his fight against Eric Bazinian on Friday, was able to get a stoppage victory in that one there. So, he, it's kind of like back at it as far as like getting it in with his old trainer there, Eric Morales. He basically had a one and done there with Freddie Roach. So he's like back at it with Eric Morales and was able to, score a KO victory there against Eric Bazinian in a, pretty good matchup there, So I'm still interested to see what happens here with, Jaime Munguia at super middleweight. I mean, you could still have a potential matchup against Christian and Billy out there, or maybe Diego. I don't know about Diego Pacheco as long as Pacheco's there with Matchroom and stuff like that. So I think Top Rank is looking to try to match up the thing there with Jaime Munguia and Christian and Billy, who got that win over Sergey Derevyanchenko. What was it last month? So I like to see how the rest of this super middleweight division shapes itself out. Yeah, we saw Caleb Plant that was on that Canelo Berlanga undercard too, that had an impressive victory too. So yeah, 168 is kind of looking pretty good there. But with Jaime Munguia getting this win over Brazilian, that kind of like sets him up to potentially get that bout against Christian and Billy, which I'll say is a great action matchup there at 168.
Well, I tell you what, even with that, so I tell you what, when Munguia solid win, Basilia definitely came to fight. Matter of fact, he did exceptionally well in the first few rounds. Solid jab, command and control, ring generalship, watching it and not overextend himself, and definitely had Munguia on the back foot to a degree. But he definitely saw a good win for him in those late rounds. That's that. But I tell you what, so the main thing that with Munguia that we got sick and tired of when he was with Golden Boy, fighting nobody after nobody, never attempting to fight for the title, which is ridiculous. His right position. So nice with Top Rank. His next fight would tell you exactly what they intend for him to do. Because like with Golden Boy, that's pretty much gave a fight pretty much non-significant people, and then fighting for the title, and it's making check after check for the guy and making money off of him. Until they finally cast him out with a fight against Canelo, right? So will Top Rank do the same thing? Like if he doesn't fight Munguia, I'm sorry, if Munguia doesn't fight Mabili or even Pacheco, which probably won't happen, or someone significant, then that means they're going to do the same thing they're going to did, just find nobody, just get them checks and stuff like that. But like I said, at this point now, it's time for people to rise up towards the top of 168, right? We know the Canelo's right there. He's always going to be right there, right? But other people out there like Shishkin and Skulls, things like that, titles sometimes becoming available. But if Munguia doesn't fight someone in that top tier, it's all bullshit. Once again.
Yeah, because I mean, I named like a whole lot of those fighters, and one of the other ones, that's out there in Lester Martinez. Like I gotta see if they're really gonna go forward with rescheduling that bout against Joe Sean James, because I mean that fight was supposed to happen there, at Plant City. And then, just a day of the fight, Lester Martinez, has a complication and can't necessarily fight, on that night. So they said that they're, going to try to reschedule it. But I don't know about all that, especially when they were having reports about Lester Martinez fighting in the November card on Riyadh season. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I'm skeptical on that. But when it comes to that super middleweight division overall, yeah, you have a bunch of potential matchups and scheduled matchups there involving like the top 10 of super middleweight that could kind of like sort out what could happen there in that particular sense. You know what I'm saying? But big ups to Boxing Academic for spending some time out here to chop it up here with us. Like I said, I'm still in that thing as far as like adjusting to getting back in the States and everything like that, man. Like I said, it was a long flight. Like I said, first from London to Vienna, had to wake up at about 3:30 a.m. local time or whatever it was, just to be sure that I could get to London Heathrow Airport on time and get on the first flight and get on over to Vienna and stuff, and then from Vienna had a long flight all the way out to come back over to the U.S. So that was a good experience. Like I said, I do it again. Not necessarily sure if it's going to be for a fight or not, but I still want to just like I said, go out there to London. There's still like a lots to do out there in London that doesn't necessarily include going to a sporting event or something like that. So that was a good experience. I'm gonna see if I can do it again here, maybe sometime within the next 6 to 8 months or whatnot. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's that on that front. Should be seeing if I could turn right around and have a midweek report either tomorrow or Thursday, because we have that fight card that is coming up in New York City on Friday night there at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Right? You got Sandy Ryan versus Michaela Mayer there that's headlining, but you're also going to have Xander Zayas involved in that fight card. Bruce Carrington against Suleiman Sagawa. Elvis Rodriguez is on this fight card. Vito Milnicki Jr. is on the fight card. Tiger Johnson's on there. Rohan Polanco's on there. So it's definitely a good amount of good fights and good fighters that will be on that fight card at the theater at Madison Square Garden on Friday night. And then there for Saturday and Sunday, I'll be over in Atlantic City for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame too. So there's no rest for me this week. Nope, that ain't happening.
You said
right back at it. What you said? Well, I thought you said something there, Terrell, man. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I thought I would pretty much like have like a weekend to try to rest up a little bit, but nope, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. So you're gonna hear more from me as far as like what's gonna be going on there at the theater at Madison Square Garden, and then on Saturday we're gonna have coverage of that Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame where we're gonna be talking with the inductees that will be part of that Hall of Fame class. So I'll see about getting a little bit more details on each one of those things there for the midweek report on Wednesday. Going to schedule that for 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But outside of that, big thanks for everyone that's been able to jump on here for this Boston Source podcast. I'll catch y'all later.